Hey everybody, AstartesGaming here, back with the 11th design journal for Chronicles of Elyria. So today we're going to be taking a look at equipment and inventory, and we'll get our first look at some of the armor and weapons in the game. So without talking too much, I'm just going to go ahead and dive right into this one. Um, so yeah, here we go. If you played an RPG prior to 2004, chances are good you remember an age where character equipment played a very different role than it does today. Equipment was primarily used for damage mitigation to determine whether your character was melee, ranged, or reach, to identify which types of armor your weapons were effective against, and to balance the game with constraints such as whether or not you could use magic effectively while wielding your weapons or wearing your armor. It wasn't until World of Warcraft, which borrowed heavily from the random loot table and ever increasing character stats of the Diablo franchise, that we began to see the grind for bigger and better weapons in RPGs. But one of the side effects of World of Warcraft that's not often talked about is the disassociation between what NPCs and player characters look like and what they're actually carrying. Because it's difficult to have NPCs actually use all the items on their loot table, we got accustomed to a world in which NPCs use or wore one set of items while rewarded us with a completely different set of items. Likewise, with no house to store things in WoW. Likewise, with no house to store things in, WoW introduced the near infinite inventory system, which makes it impossible to accurately determine what a player character is carrying. Okay, so the Elder Scrolls does a pretty good job about this. You have carry capacities based on the relative weight of items, and then obviously you can be carrying several things that you're not using, but everything that you do have, equipped is going to be lootable if the NPC or your character dies. Although obviously NPCs are going to loot your character, but okay. So in this week's design journal, we're going to take a look at the Chronicles of Elyria equipment and inventory systems. We'll talk about our innovative new layering and constraint system, which provides for different types of character customization while still making it clear what type of character, player character, or NPC you're facing. See, that's one thing that I don't like. I would rather it be a mystery. I would rather not be able to tell a player character from a non-player character. I think that would add to the immersion quite a bit. And I think initially that's what they said they were going for, but we'll see. Then we'll talk about how different types of equipment affect your survival stats. Finally, we'll talk about how an innovative new container system allows Chronicles of Elyria to provide an extremely limited inventory while still feeling natural and intuitive. So we've got a screenshot here of some kind of market stand, and we've got some pretty cool looking armor sets here. I've got tools laid out there. There's the forge. I think probably the same forge we've been seeing for a while. There's several different swords laid out here. You can see that the two facing toward the left of the image are essentially the same sword, but the one nearer to the screen is significantly bigger than the other. So you have different sizes of weapons. And then you can see the other two facing toward the right of the screen have very different pommels and guards on them, and also vary in size slightly. And then we've got a couple different types of axes here. That looks like a halberd. This looks like some kind of war pick, maybe, or like a javelin. I don't know. It's short and stubby. It's too short to be a spear, I feel like. We've got a shield there, a very small one. Some more axes, a double-sided axe wrapped with some rope for a handle, and then two regular war axes, and then a very, very large shield right here. Again, this is all placeholder stuff, but this is what they're going for. The art assets will be improved, but they are still going to reflect this initial design to some degree. And then with the armor sets, you can see this one, it's got some plate armor on it, and then some leather. And then this is more of like it's the same plate armor, but this is more of like a tunic almost. And then there's some more like javelins here. So that's pretty cool. Alright, so equipment. Chronicles of Elyria uses a system of what you see is what you get. This has a couple meanings within the scope of the game. First, it means that when looting something or someone, you'll find exactly what you could see. Nothing more and nothing less. This is true whether it's another player or an NPC. You won't attack an NPC wielding some powerful magic weapon, only to loot his body and find a different powerful weapon, several, or none. If you could see it, you can loot it. If you didn't see it, or they didn't use it, you likely won't find it. That's for equipment, obviously, so just because they're not throwing gold coins at you doesn't mean that they don't have gold on their person. But if you see a coin pouch on their belt, then you can probably assume that they do have some gold on them. Also, it's true when attacking animals, you won't kill a giant brown bear and loot a pair of chain boots. You'd get hide, meat, bones, and maybe some teeth or claws. The other important aspect of what you see is what you get is that you can evaluate characters encountered in the wild based on what they're wearing. Because there are no nameplates over NPCs or animals that show their relative level, it'll be up to you to determine if you're up to the challenge. One of the ways you can do that is by glancing at the gear someone is wearing. If you see someone approaching you on the road in a shirt and pants, leather jacket, and no visible weapon, they're likely to be of little risk to you. On the other hand, if someone approaches wearing a studded leather vest, a rapier, and an offhand dagger, chances are good they know how to use them. Although it could be a bluff. Alright, so types of equipment. Chronicles of Elyria has many different types of wearable equipment. One of the things that makes Chronicles of Elyria unique is the way in which it allows or disallows different types of equipment in order to encourage different playstyles. Excuse me. Equipment in Chronicles of Elyria is broken up into several different equipment slots. These are the head, used for helmets, caps, coifs, and hooded cloaks. Face, masks, and cowls. The neck, necklaces, cowls, and coifs. Torso, clothing, armor, and holsters. Back, backpacks, capes, cloaks, and holsters. Lots of holsters. Arms for bracers, gauntlets, bracelets, and bucklers. Hands for gauntlets, gloves, knuckles, and rings. There is going to be melee combat, or obviously not melee combat, unarmed melee combat in this game, and it will be something, I think we've already seen it listed in the skills design journal, but it will be something that you can train in extensively. So let's see, hands, gauntlet, gloves, knuckles, and rings, waist, belts, legs, garters, trousers, skirts, and leggings, and feet, boots. Alright, so let me scroll so you guys can see this. Right, so as you can see from the equipment list above, different slots can often equip several different types of items. However, the type of item equipable is often constrained by what else is equipped. For example, hands can have either gauntlets, gloves, or rings, but it is not possible to have all three simultaneously. Furthermore, gauntlets act as both arm and hand items, so if you equip a gauntlet, you'll fill both item slots. In addition to the above, the head can have many different things, but if you equip a coif, you can't wear anything on the neck. Likewise, if you equip a hooded cloak, you can't put anything on your head. I do wish that you could put some kind of helmet on under your hood, like Skyrim allowed you to do it with some mods, but we'll see. While these combinations may seem arbitrary at first, they serve to identify purpose and functionality. Someone wearing a hooded cloak is likely trying to conceal their identity, not something generally done with a helmet. But for the sake of argument, there are helmets that would disguise your face better than a hood. However, a mask and hooded cloak is completely acceptable, with a question mark. Okay, well, that sounds like they've confirmed that you can do a mask and a hood, so at least there's that. And we've got another screenshot here. This is just a guy wearing like a blouse and some pants and some boots. Not a whole lot to see here. Okay, so equipment layering. I really, really like this system. I think the new Mount Blade Bannerlord that's coming out is going to use something very similar. Also, Kingdom Come Deliverance is using a layered armor system as well. That isn't going to be out for a while though, as far as I know. So in order to customize characters to deal with different climates and occupations, Chronicles of Elyria uses a unique layering system for equipment. Certain body parts have the ability to contain multiple different pieces of equipment simultaneously. There are 2 item slots which have multiple layers. These are the torso and the legs. Depending on what you put in a lower level layer, that's a lot of L's, it may limit what you can put in a higher layer. So for the torso is divided up into 3 layers. Layer 1, the base layer, contains shirts, blouses, and dresses. Layer 2, the middle layer, will contain jackets, jerkins, tunics, doublets, vests, and some chain shirts. And layer 3, the topmost layer, will contain robes or mail, or plate armor, I assume. Because plate armor is not mail. Mail is like chainmail. In this way, it's possible to be wearing a shirt, leather jerkin, and half plate mail. Oh, they did it. Plate mail. It's not okay. All at the same time. It is not, however, possible to put that all under a robe. So there's only so many layers that you can use, but there are several combinations with which you can use them. Alright, so the legs. You guys can still see this, okay. So the legs are divided up into 2 layers. Layer 1 contains either trousers or garters, and Layer 2 contains either armor, a skirt, or a kilt. So you can wear kilts. That's cool. Kilts confirmed. What do we got here? That's a cool looking screenshot. This system allows a woman to wear a garter underneath a skirt. Likewise, it allows a male to wear trousers with armor over the top. Why can't a female wear armor with trousers over, or sorry, not armor with trousers over the top, trousers with armor over the top? Note, it's not possible to wear garters and armor. Sorry, ladies. Armor on the bottom half always looks like trousers or a skirt, no chain bikinis. Interesting. Okay. Right, so we've got this cool looking leather jacket or jerkin here. I like the scale effect on it. That's pretty cool. That would look good under some, like, I don't know, some plate armor or something. Okay, so survival. Chronicles of Elyria is unquestionably a survival game. It's designed to make people think about the actions they take in the wild in order to guarantee their survival. The equipment a character has on affects them in many unique ways, completely aside from the obvious need to carry food and water. So, weight and fatigue. Up to some maximum amount of weight, your character can walk all day without getting tired. But go beyond that and your character will begin to become fatigued. The more weight your character is carrying, the quicker you'll be forced to rest. Alright. Sprinting and movement speed. Some types of armor may slow your run speed down to a sort of canter and will cause you to become fatigued more quickly while running. The heaviest armor will cause you to become fatigued more quickly while sprinting, or may prevent sprinting altogether. So you can't be the most well protected and the fastest guy on the battlefield. Seems fair. Temperature. This is kind of cool. Players are also affected by the equipment they wear and the current temperature. If it's exceptionally cold out, players would be wise to bundle up with a jacket over their shirt. If it's extremely cold out, they may even consider wearing a cape or cloak to keep warm. The opposite is also true. If it's extremely hot out, almost yawned there, wearing multiple layers of clothing or metal armor could cause you to overheat. So that could play a huge role in a war. For example, if you're attacking a place that's typically very cold and you don't have the right cold weather gear in order to assault them, they aren't really going to have to work very hard to defeat you because the weather is going to do it for them. Speaking of weather, let's look at weather and terrain. On a clear day, the weather, aside from the temperature, will have little impact on your overall comfort. However, if it's raining out, windy, or foggy, it will have an impact on your rate of movement. Likewise, if there's snow on the ground or you're trudging along through a muddy swamp, you could become encumbered. The heavier your armor, the more difficult the muddy ground will be to navigate. So, certain terrain is going to be very difficult to attack through, which, is very realistic. So, you have, like, marshes around your village. You're going to be pretty easily defended in that village because they're going to have to trudge through those marshes. And, if you're a decent archer, you could probably sit there and pick them off as they kind of drag their feet through the mud. Alright, so drowning. Heavy armor sinks. I think that's really all that needs to be said on that. Failure to appreciate the laws of fluid dynamics and gravity could result in permadeath. So, from what they've said, shallow bodies of water, yeah, you can drown in them. No, you won't permadie. You'll have to spirit walk and then you'll respawn on the shore, whatever. But if you're way out into the deep ocean and you drown, that might be your permadeath. but I don't know if they've decided 100% on that yet. So gender and sizes. In Chronicles of Elyria, one size does not fit all. In fact, the same size may not even fit the opposite gender. In Chronicles of Elyria, there's gender neutral equipment, equipment for men and women, and equipment for the small, medium, and large. Wearing equipment too big for you will make it less effective, and wearing equipment too small may be impossible. Of course, this can be remedied by taking it to an appropriate craftsman and having it resized. Come on, villagers, never say we didn't do our best to keep you in business. Alright, we got another screenshot here. But I do think this is cool. Like he said at the end there, it is going to help give tailors and smiths and stuff more work. It's also kind of cool that, you know, you can't be some big giant guy, kill some tiny little character and loot their, you know, their super rare armor and just throw it on as if it would magically scale up to your size. And then here we have a better look at the armor we saw earlier. I really do like this design. Yeah, so we've got that like plate armor on the chest and shoulders with some kind of like dragon skull on it, and then the helmet also has like a dragon skull over the bridge of the nose, and then you can see the studded leather through the rest of it. I do really like the style of this so far. I mean, this is really the only armor we've seen other than the lower layers, but I really like this. Okay, inventory. One of the things that may strike people as odd at first is the extremely limited inventory in Chronicles of Elyria. Initially, this went back to what we said before about what you see is what you get. If you can't see it, it shouldn't be there. But beyond that, limited inventory again creates not only opportunities for dramatic storytelling, but also dedicated gatherers. It costs money to effectively tow the day's haul from the mines back to town. By requiring people to invest in pack animals, carts, wagons, and other means of transportation, it forces them to decide whether it's worth the investment or whether it's better to just pay someone else to do it for you. Okay, so again, they are creating more opportunities for unique professions. You can be like literally the medieval equivalent of UPS if you so choose, and just ship everything for people. Or you could, if you get big enough, you could be like the medieval equivalent of Amazon and, you know, be a giant business and have so much money that you can afford to, rush ship stuff to people and obviously, like, have your own means of transportation for that stuff. Containers. Chronicles of Elyria uses a unique system of containers where all objects on your person, pack animal, or other mode of transportation must either be in a container or held in your hands. As we talked about earlier, your character's equipment has multiple slots for storing boots, backpacks, bracers, belts, etc. What we didn't mention before is that the experienced leather workers, tailors, and blacksmiths can craft items which provide additional storage in the form of pouches, pockets, purses, and hidden compartments. That's pretty cool. So it's sort of like in Fallout 4, you can add on like certain perks to your armor that increase your carry weight or something. But in this, they're actual like containers within the garment. So, for example, a talented cobbler could put a hidden compartment in a boot that allows for the storage of daggers or retractable blades. Armorsmiths can create bracers with places for either retractable blades or wrist-mounted crossbows. I immediately start thinking of like Assassin's Creed here. Somebody with like a wrist blade that comes out and they like stab people. Okay, so tailors and leatherworkers can make garters with places for hidden weapons, belts with a varying number of attachment points, cloaks with sewn in hidden compartments, and most pants come with pockets for carrying a small amount of coins or other items. Let's scroll down a bit here. Oop, too far. There we go. Of those, belts are among the most interesting and again speaks to Chronicles of Elyria's goal of making people measurable from a distance. When purchasing a belt with 2 attach points, you can use both for additional storage, one for a coin purse and the other for a scabbard mount, or if you plan on dual wielding, you can actually put 2 separate scabbard mounts. The more talented the leatherworker, the more attach points can be placed on a belt. Assassins may find it particularly interesting to put pockets for thrown weapons, or even several places for extra daggers. So yeah, I imagine like a very good assassin's probably going to want as many attach points on them as possible, and they'll just have like daggers and like shuriken all over them, and they can just like whip stuff out and throw it. Okay, well, we got another screenshot here. And this is another look at that armor, and then the inventory system here. Hopefully they spruce this up a bit. I imagine this is a placeholder too. I like the concept here. It could use some prettying up. But let's see, we've got the neck, face, head, right arm, left arm. It does look like they can be... I don't know that they can be equipped separately. This would indicate that they could, but maybe you just drop something into one and it mirrors it over to the other. Or maybe you can, do some like asymmetric armor. That's always cool, having like, your left side all armored up, so you don't need to carry a shield, and have the right side a little bit more mobile for swinging your sword. And then you can see there's right held and left held, so you could dual wield. You could put a shield and sword in there, whatever you so choose. And then you can see the base attributes and the survival statistics based on, what you're wearing. Apparently, sobriety is part of that, and toxicity. And so volume and weight. Chronicles of Elyria uses a weight and volume system for all containers. While we do use a grid system within a container to help keep stuff organized, the number of slots are infinite up to the maximum volume or weight limit for the container. In this way, you can continue to put a ton of small items without running out of space to put them. It's also important to note that our grid system uses multiple grid slots for different size items. This is mostly to help users understand the relative size of objects, to be able to estimate volume quickly without having to hover over an item, and to help quickly locate items of different types. So if you want to put like a giant rock in your chest, your like treasure chest, not like your torso chest, the giant rock will take up like 4 squares, while like a pair of gloves will take up like 1 little square. The important thing to understand though is that you can't put additional items into a container that would that would go over either the weight or volume limit. And then stackable items. As with many other MMOs, Chronicles of Elyria utilizes stackable items within containers. If you've got 15 blank scrolls in your backpack, having them all grouped into a single slot saves space on screen, time spent scrolling, and makes the inventory more readable at first glance. So that's cool. They are going to have stackable items. I imagine once you turn those blank scrolls into like maps, they will no longer be stackable. They'll probably become like unique named items or something to that effect. And so what's next? In next week's Design Journal, we're going to revisit hooded cloaks and equipment as we talk about identities, disguises, and reputation. Alright, so if you are looking forward to being a roguish thief character, next week's Design Journal is going to be the one for you. And for now, we're just going to go ahead and end this here. So, as always, if you're interested in getting involved in the Chronicles of Elyria community, you can follow the link below my little square here that I'm in, down there. And if you want to help kickstart a AstartesGaming community within the game, you can use my referral code that's listed right above it to give me some influence that'll help me get things started before the game even releases. And yeah, so as always, thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already. Please feel free to share my videos however you guys see fit. And I will see you guys back here for the next look at Design Journal 12 for Chronicles of Elyria.